there, welcome to my channel and welcome to my next project. As you can see, this is a really old radio. It's actually a radio and turntable from, I don't even know how old it is. And we can't even remember where we got it from. It must be some garage sale or something. I don't even remember what we paid for, but it's been in our garage forever. And I've always wanted to do something with it. I originally wanted to maybe make it into a cabinet, but then I got my other cabinet that I made, that I got for free on Facebook, and I did over. So I don't really need it for that. And my husband says that the radio may work, so it'd be nice, might be nice to have it for that. So I think I'm just gonna make it pretty. And then hopefully my husband can work on the inside to make sure that they work. But let me give you a little tour around it. As you can see, it's gotten pretty beat up and dirty. And it's gonna require a lot of sanding to kind of bring it back. Look like it even has some kind of label in there. But I think it's definitely doable. The front I'll probably just clean up and just leave as it is. And I'm gonna stain the whole thing the same kind of color I used for my other two pieces that I was talking about that I also have in the living room. This is gonna go in the living room. And just so you can see the back, it's all open. I'm disgusting right now. So that's part of what has to happen. But of course the fun part is the inside. It has like an area for holding the records. It has this old AM FM radio and a turntable. And this little thing doesn't work very well, so we'll probably have to either get a new hinge or repair that one. I don't know, we'll see about that. But anyway, so that's a project. Now let me show you how I plan to, unless it's supposed to go like, maybe it's supposed to go like that. I don't know, because if you do that, it seems like there's something loose. See that? If you do that, you just make a gouge in there. But anyway, let me show you what I have in mind to do. So let me show you the stain. The stain that I'm planning to use is this one called Coffee, which is pretty dark. And sometimes in my other pieces, I've actually gotten even a little darker than that because I put it in kind of thick and I don't wipe it too much because I like it kind of super saturated. Almost looks black. And this is what I want to do on it. Again, initially, when I was just going to do, maybe make doors or something for the front, I was just going to put this in the front. But now, since I really cannot really mess with the speaker section, I'm just going to have this on the sides of the cabinets. And basically, these are IOD transfers. This is the Bungalow collection. And I use some of it for other projects, but I have some really pretty ones that I can use. And it happens to fit just perfectly, you know, on the side. So there'll be one on each side. This is another one here. And I'll probably do something on the top, since I do have all this real estate and I have at least one full sheet left here that I can use. So that is the plan, and that should look pretty kind of with the black, almost black background, because as you can see, that's kind of the way they have it here in the front. So that should be nice. So, and it shouldn't be that hard to do. These transfers are really amazing, the way they work with everything. So the first order of business is going to be to sand the heck out of this to kind of clean as much as possible. I think mostly with the sanding it should be enough. I'm not going to worry about filling too many holes or anything, but we'll see if I see anything that really needs to be filled. But mostly it's going to be cleaning and sanding for right now. Let's get to it. It's a little windy today, so it might be hard to hear me, but I'm just going to start the sanding outside. I finished sanding it. I was able to get a lot of the paint off. Not that little interesting chunk there, but I'm hoping that since I am staining it with a gel stain and it's pretty dark, that should be invisible. And if not, I'll make sure I put some kind of a transfer in there. But anyway, so the finish came off pretty easily. It tells you it's probably pretty old. And I also did a little bit of the inside cover, but I didn't bother doing a ton because, again, the gel stain doesn't necessarily need like a stripped down finish. All I need is, make sure that it's clean and that it doesn't have any big gouges. I did find one gouge that I'm going to try to see if I can put a little putty, just that, not bad. That's the only two little gouges that I'm gonna cover up. And then I'm gonna, like I said, take some wet rag, clean up all the sawdust, and then I can start doing all my staining. So it's progressing along. Okay, so I cleaned up the cabinet everywhere. I cleaned it from the sawdust, from all the sanding. I even cleaned the inside, even though I decided I'm not gonna paint the inside, but it cleaned up pretty nicely, as you can see. And I decided I'm gonna do it two-tone, like I have my my other furniture is two-tone. So the exterior would be the coffee stain, and then the interior here, that kind of just that little frame part, I'm gonna make it, I think the color is called walnut. I'll show it to you later, but for now, I can get started. Now that I'm all cleaned up, I can get started with my coffee stain. Okay, gel stain is quite thick. I worked a little bit with it now, so I know what to expect. So, but I still don't want to use it right off the can because, you know, I might end up contaminating it. Oh boy. But it's really, like it says, it's like a pudding. So I'm gonna put a little bit down first. And sometimes I even use a roller. I'm gonna try just using this. And like I said, I tend to not take off too much. I try to, you know, spread it out evenly, but I don't necessarily want to take too much off. But maybe a little later. Okay, so went ahead and put this stain. This is the dark coffee stain. It looks pretty good. It covered up all those boos that were on the top. And now I gotta do the front. I'm always gonna do a different color. Oh, gotta clean those drips before they get worse. Oh no. So yeah, because I think I'm gonna leave the inside as it is, which is close to the walnut color. So let me clean my drips and move on to doing that part. Okay, so now I'm gonna do this color, which is the walnut. I'll show it to you in a sec. But before that, I'm just gonna use this small little tray to put my paint. And I'm gonna cover it first with foil just to make cleanup easier. I always do this. Now this is gel stain. This is not water soluble and it's not water cleanable. So I know that whatever brushes I use here, I'll just throw away after the fact, and I throw away the foil as well, just so you know. So be careful how you dispose of these things. Okay, so this is the walnut stain. So it's the same kind, just a different color. And this one I already have because I have been using it on the other pieces of furniture that I did. So there's no real mixing per se because, like I said, this is like a big glove. And also I used my roller. That's what I used last time as well. And for me it works. I don't think that's the traditional way of doing it, but I found that when I worked with gel stain before, I would put it on and it would dry really fast, and then when I tried to take it off, it was a mess. So I really just work with this little roller, and then I basically go over it to make sure that it's pretty smooth, but I don't really try to take it off with a rag or anything like that. So this will be for all the kind of the bigger areas, and then for the little nooks and crannies, I'll use a small foam that again I'll dispose of after. Okay, so let's get started here. This roller is not rolling. I have to get a new pad. And I'm not gonna color the, you know, the actual speaker thing. So most of this is gonna be done with the smaller one. So, but I'm not sure I want to bother too much with the roller this time around. Because it's a lot of nooks and crannies to go over here. Okay, the second color is up. Now I'm gonna let this dry really well. I'm hoping I don't have to do a second coat. I don't think so. There might be touch-ups here and there that I missed. As you can see, it's pretty, you know, That's a lot of coverage. It's really something more like a paint. Because then, after this is thoroughly dry, then I'll do the fun part, which is my decals or my transfers on the sides and on the top. And after that, I have to seal it and then we'll be done. But looking good so far. Okay, it's all dried, so one last look before we start adding the transfers. So it looks pretty spiffy in terms of the stain and all that. I didn't do much with the caning in front for the speakers. The inside is just, I left it without staining. I did stain this part. Okay, so I mentioned before I was going to do this IOD transfers that I have. And I have 2 whole pages. Actually, I have 4. But the other 2 have cheetahs on them. I'm not so sure when I use the cheetah. And actually, one of them has a monkey, I think. But I may end up using maybe on the top, because I do want to use him up, and that's the last of it. I also had this remnants of another IOD that I had, and I might want to kind of cut around and use it here and there. I think it'll coordinate okay. You know, it's still, you know, kind of floral and kind of interesting. So, and I think I'm gonna keep this super easy. I'm gonna probably use it as a the 2 bird ones, which I really like. I'm gonna use them as is. I'm not even gonna cut around them, so that should be fairly easy to do. So and again, even being straight is not a big deal because this is nature. There's no straight things in nature. So let's go do it. Do want to center it as best I can. Oh, it's taking forever. I don't know about you guys if you've had problems with IOD transfer, but I feel like I could burnish. I could stay there 50 times and that will never release. So I'm having to kind of come up with weird ways to kind of making the thing release, like taking the paper off first, but then of course it's like you say, it's leaving a lot of little guys behind. So I'm gonna have to go over with the brush and kind of try to kind of fix it up. But it's so frustrating because it takes so long. So sometimes what I do, which is not great either, because I think you might get this whole thing out of alignment, is when you see like a bubble like that, I call it right in the bubble. You know, it's like sometimes that helps me for it to go faster and actually release it as I go. It's the only thing I can figure, but the instructions will tell you, and every time I've seen other people do it, they don't say anything about that issue. So I don't know if it's just my bad luck, but I've used that other set, and this is my second set, and no matter what surface I'm using it, I've always had this issue, and I don't understand. Like right there, see like how many times I have to furbish that, you know, and it just doesn't finish releasing. And you know, now there it is, but it's like it just doesn't seem right that it would take this many, and I'm putting a lot of force into it. So anyway, so slowly going. It's not perfect, but maybe I'll do some painting around it or something. Maybe that will inspire me to get creative with it and add to it. But you see, there's all kinds of little imperfections, and I see them in here, and I try to, and they just, nothing happens. So it takes a lot of arm power, you know, to get these guys to stay. Come on. So I don't know if anybody knows what I'm doing wrong. Please let me know, because it gets very frustrating. I like the look of them, but it's like I don't understand why they have to be so hard to put on. You know what I mean? Get back. Okay, well, as I showed you, this is the first side I did, and you know, I had a lot of problems. It was very difficult to apply, and I thought that was going to be the worst of it. Well, it got worse. When I got to do the top, I tried to do the monkey one, and for the life of me, no matter how many 100 million times I rubbed that thing, the parts of the stencil would not stick at all. And I don't understand why, because it's the same material that was over there. I have problems with this one too. So I don't know if that my transfer was bad or what the issue was. This one was about the best one. The one on this side, I got lucky and it went pretty good. But I had to like burnish and then peel off and then put back on. Try not to move it. And but this one, I'm not kidding you. It's like I could have been there till tomorrow, and the thing just was not budging. You can kind of see how some of it would stick, but it just peels right off. So that really puts me in the position that I wasn't necessarily going to do it, but now I'm going to have to do it, which is to add color. I'm going to have to paint over it, you know, here as well as the other parts, and maybe even complete it and make it more full. And, you know, it might end up being more unique this way, but wow, what a hassle that thing was. I was really surprised. Anyway, so let me get my colors out and see what I can kind of do here. Okay, so I've set up all my tools and supplies necessary. A lot of the paints that I have, my brushes. I'm just going to use paper plates for my palettes. I also have this whole set of acrylics that I might be able to use, and I also have these stencils that I might be able to use. So let's see what happens. I'm going to start making my paints. I know that I think I'm going to do a plate of greens, because green is one of the main things that I'm having problems here, and it's one of the biggest colors. And I'm going to go ahead and basically put all the greens that I have in one plate. They're all different shades, and you know, sometimes you can mix them with a little white or black and make something else out of it if the color itself doesn't work. I mean, a lot of the issues, and one of the reasons I wasn't going to paint here was because it's almost once you start, you kind of commit it, and to make it all look even, you kind of have to, I don't want to have to go paint everything. But one of the things that I might want to do, which I've seen other people do when they do this kind of thing, is to really make this more integrated into the background, so it just doesn't look like something's being plopped on. So maybe painting kind of some, like a little border of green or something like that, I think might not be a bad thing. So and I have acrylics, and I also have a few chalk paints as well, which I maybe even start with, just because, you know, chalk paint has such great you know, durability and kind of stick-to-itness, right? It sticks to everything. Oh boy, I haven't used this one in a while. I have to really mix it up. Anyway, so we'll see. Let's see what happens here. Start with the thinnest that I have here. So, and I'm going to try to kind of get close to that color. And with this one, I'm mostly trying to repair where there were holes that didn't get the stencil properly. Holes or cracks. And I don't want to completely cover what's there, right? I'm just trying to stipple it so I'm blended in, right? Because this part here, I'm just repairing. There might be other parts where I'm actually gonna straight up paint, but this one is just more a repair job for this one here. Okay, let me show you what I did. At one point I was gonna do like a green border, like a fussy green border, but what I decided to do was to kind of, after the fixing, I wanted to make it look like it really, you know, when there was like a dead end piece or branch, I just went ahead and extended it. Like this whole tree wasn't there. I just added it. And you know, I'm not a big artist. I just kind of layering and going over and over it until it kind of seemed like it made sense. So now it looks like a full panel. It doesn't just look like a big thing in the middle. Let me show you the other side. So same thing here. You can see I integrated the tree. I could even take that top branch even completely over like I did on the other side. But that's kind of what I'm doing. So going over and over after I painted and repair any kind of visible crack as best as I could. And now for the hard one, I left the hard one for last, which is this one. This one I'm gonna have to go really bold and probably create like, you know, blue foliage and everything like that, because I'm not gonna try to do those transfers anymore. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm about to start the top now. And let me show you some of the thoughts. This is all like in pieces and all that, but I can always, you know, keep painting like I've learned that I can do. Is that part of the I was trying to figure that out. Must be. Anyway, I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm gonna go ahead and probably use my big stencils because, you know, I have a lot of ground to cover here. And again, I'm not gonna cover probably the flower, but I can always cover that part of the stencil. I only stencil that part. And I always like things kind of coming off the edge and things like that. And then on this edge, I'll probably pair up with these. And then I'll probably do something with these and maybe leave the middle pretty much as it is. That's the plan right now. Maybe I'll go crazy and end up stenciling the whole thing, but I don't think so. And then things like this, where the trunk ends, that's where I like the idea of extending it. You know, making it look like it keeps going. I'll probably have to figure out how to extend the monkey leg. I'm not looking forward to that. Or I might just put a big green thing there so I don't have to worry about drawing a monkey. So anyway, so let's see what happens. Okay, so I think it's gonna go like this. I'm gonna use this piece of paper to cover up the parts that of the transfer that I don't want to cover up. And I think because I want good coverage for the stencil, so I think I'm gonna use more of the chalk paint because we know that that's gonna give us pretty good coverage. And the only thing that's important is to have a good stenciling brush. I'm gonna try this one, and I think I'm gonna use this other piece of paper to offload as much as possible. Okay, let's go for it. And the plan too is to later, I might not necessarily leave them looking like stencils. I might go ahead and, you know, paint over them as well. But it gives me a nice guide to where I need to go. And for this stencil, it's really important to go up and down because it's so intricate and it's too easy to get things under. Okay, not bad, not bad. Okay, so I think I'm gonna put this one going up. I changed my mind about what I just said earlier, but I did do that one. So that one's done. And again, I have to fix that whole area. I wish I can do that by hand. But let's do a few more stencils. I have another one that I want to place, a smaller one that I want to place over there. Okay. And I had an idea of putting some pink in the middle. You know, sometimes it's gonna, leaves have kind of pink in them. I'm gonna try that, but I have a different pouncer. Okay, I also have this big, I mean, it's kind of a medium size. It's from the same set. And I think I'm gonna try one of those here. Okay, I think I'm done with the stenciling for now. I'm happy with that. Now, I'm gonna work on fixing the transfer and kind of carrying through the same kind of idea that we did on the sides. It's kind of fun to actually even follow the trunk from the bottom and kind of carry it through. I think I'm gonna try that. So I'm gonna start with the brown. Okay, so I'm happy with the branches. Oh, I'll probably go back later, and I want to make one that connects all the way to the side. Now let's move to the green stuff like this, where got not quite finished. So like I did before, I'm gonna create my own leaves. Just using those that were there as a starting point. Okay, so I'm all done with my painting. You know, it's not perfect, but it looks, you know, I was gonna say homemade, but you know, handmade, I should say, not homemade. Anyway, so now it's a matter of protecting it, right? My understanding is every time you use those kind of like transfers, you need to protect it. And also, since this is just painted, either way, it's pretty fragile. If you scratch on it, it will come off. So what I'm gonna use is this paste finishing wax. I used it before on my other furniture that I did in the dining room, so I know it works well. It gives a really nice finish, and hopefully if it gives me any problems, I'll have to kind of change and do something else, but it should be okay. It should not lift up any of the finish or the transfer. That's always the worry. So anyway, so I'm going to start with this side over here, because once it's in place, if I mess up, that's the side that you're going to see the least. So let me start with that. Okay, so here we are. I'm gonna apply like you apply any wax, right? We're gonna apply it first with a rag, and I'm gonna try to do circular motions, but again, like I said, I'm gonna do it slowly, make sure it doesn't pull on anything. And then after a little while, then you buff it up with this. So here it goes. It just looks like any other wax out there. I haven't used this one too much. Just on the bottom here. So far, so good. It kind of makes it a little bit more vibrant, which is nice. And of course, I'm going to put it over everything. Since everything has been stained, everything needs to be protected. Not just the painted portions. Okay, so here's already all finished up. I put 2 layers or 2 coats of the wax, and you can see how it's sort of hiding all that work. It's sort of hiding a little bit, but that's okay. That makes it a little bit more subtle, I guess you could say. And I just cleaned it up even more on the inside, and a little later we're gonna test it out, see if it works. Hopefully it works, but it's pretty clean. I did not do anything to the interior, so this is all the original. I just cleaned it up real good, as best I could. So there you have it. And it has a nice feel because of the wax. I don't know, I might still do 3 coats one day, I don't know, I'm not sure. Not sure if I'm gonna do it with goats or not, but there it is in its little place where it's gonna live.